As an American, I eat apple pie, play baseball under its blue skies. As an American, I travel this land and follow her roads wherever I can. From sea to shining sea, I've seen a lot, and none of it will be forgot. And when my country called, I gave my all as an American. I was born into freedom in a wonderful land of mountains and plains, rivers and lakes. Forever American is what I am. A past as rich as any can be. My father's worked hard to give this to me. I love this place I come from. To live another way I cannot foresee. As an American, I eat apple pie, play baseball under its blue skies. As an American, I travel this land and follow her roads wherever I can. From sea to shining sea, I've seen a lot, and none of it will be forgot. And when my country called, I gave my all as an American. As an American, I've been to the peaks of majestic mountains where the air is sweet. I've watched the eagle as it soars in beautiful skies that just can't be ignored. And by this country I'll always stand, for freedom and liberty for every man. When times are hard and things get rough, America always stands ready and rough. As an American, I eat apple pie, play baseball under its blue skies. As an American, I travel this land and follow her roads wherever I can. From sea to shining sea, I've seen a lot, and none of it will be forgot. And when my country called, I gave my all as an American. And when my country called, I gave my all as an American. Forever American is what I am.
Welcome to Real News Live. How you guys doing tonight? This is really getting crazy with all these bank collapses, but one thing after another, people got to be ready. I mean, this stuff is getting worse as we're getting ready to go. I mean, one bank's, two banks, it's one thing. But we're watching FDIC, not just the federal insurance apply, but they're actually giving the money back to all the money back to these customers, not just the money they would have lost that's supposed to be covered with insurance. When is the federal government going to quit giving out our tax dollars? It's a sad shape of events watching everything unfold right now, and people don't even know what to do. I mean, if you don't got money out of the bank right now, you should have some money at least. Hi Retha, hi Richard, hi Patrick, hi Minnie, hi Tia, hi Jeff, hi Debbie, hi Nana, let's see, hi Matt, hi Retha. How you guys all doing tonight? It's crazy though, watching everything that's going. It is absolutely crazy. I mean, New York Signature Bank, Silicon Valley Bank, SCV Capital, all the 2-day period, marking the largest second collapse of U.S. banks behind the 2008 failure of Washington Mutual. I mean, now we have a U.S. Bank, just another one just adding to the list, getting worse and worse. And all this is happening on the heels of everything else that's happening, inflation, high interest rates, all at the same time. Recent failures have customers and investors questioning just how safe is their money. And that's what they should be doing. Even though the FDIC, a bank failure, is defined by closing the bank by the federal or state bank regulating agency, when the bank is unable to meet its obligations to depositors. Watching this happen, though, it's ridiculous. I mean, we've seen bank failures before, and small banks fail all the time. When you see major banks start to fail, it is a problem. We're seeing heavy losses in the billions of dollars, not millions. It is sad to watch what's happening to our government, one thing after another. And how safe is your money? Well, how safe do you think the federal government is? They're about to default on their own debt. And what is the FDIC going to do there? What is the insurance, the federal government, the Federal Deposit Insurance Company Corporation that's actually part of the federal government? What are they going to do? What money are they going to give you? 5 so far and 5 more definitely on the heels. But FDIC, of course, watching what's happening. We know the debt limit's coming up, the debt ceiling, and nobody's worried about that. They seem like they're more edged to go to war, which means the banking insurance would actually be gone. There would be no issue with that. There would be no question. Banks would fail, people would lose their money, and nobody else would be able to do anything. It's just crazy. Consider opening an account at your local credit union, though. Small banks with good relationships have the strongest union right now. And they're insured by a different kind of insurance. They're not insured by federal insurance. It's a National Credit Union Administration insurance. So credit unions are a lot safer right now. My anxiety is still through the roof. It's just my anxiety. It's messing with me. I'm sorry, you guys. But they're pulling banks back to fluidity by using federal funds. I don't think people understand that. I really don't. Yeah, we should have never been taken off the gold standard. We got taken off the gold standard, so we were allowed to go bankrupt. Bank failures are seeming jarring, but this is part of the realm of normal, possible. Federal government knew it. They knew it was going to happen eventually. They knew the impact it was going to have, especially with interest rates. I mean, even if you're a top-tier credit right now, if I could even go like SoFi Bank, I would still be looking at paying for interest on a $25,000 loan, 3.4%. That's with an 8 or plus credit score rating. It's crazy. It's happening everywhere. Of course, watching U.S. Bank fail today after all the rest of the banks have failed. I mean, oversight of $250 billion so far. Silicon Bank had $200 billion in assets at the end of the last year, while Signature Bank had $100 billion. We had to put $250 billion in order to recover these banks to make them fluid. Where'd that money, you think, come from? I think people understand that money came from federal government money that we don't even have in the first place. Trying to recover these banks. These are smaller banks. I mean, bigger banks like Regions Bank tumbled despite Biden's assurances on fluidity. Regions Bank saw their share prices tumble today after Silicon Bank failure, and of course, U.S. Bank and others shook investors' confidence in mid-sized banks. So we're watching. First Republic Bank fell 60%. Its shares, and that's the next bank I'm gonna say it's gonna declare. It'll be the next bank that goes under, Republican Bank. It hasn't officially gone under yet. Of course, we're looking at Western Alliance Bancorp, which is owns several other banks, 47% down today. New York's base Metropolis Bank slid near 44%. PacWest in Los Angeles slid 21%. Memphis, First Horizon Bank, 20%. I mean, but First Republican Bank, this will be bigger than any fall we've seen so far. This is a $212 billion in assets right now. Plummeting. Lost over $12 billion in assets in the market today. And despite trying to ensure their customers that its position is very strong, First Republic's capital and liquidity position isn't. Let's be honest. They're down $212 billion in their total assets. And yeah, we're looking at Western Bank, which is a lot smaller of a bank, and we're sure it's going to go down $67 billion in total assets. I mean, cash reserves exceed $25 billion. They're hoping they can. Western Alliance, at least, is hoping they can hold on to that $25 billion in cash reserves to keep outflows of deposits. I mean, we're looking at some of the smaller banks only having $1.9 to $2 billion in liquidity lines and credit available. Yes, Regions Bank is on the list. It's not looking good. I mean, we watch Silicon Valley Bank, an insurance fund with over $100 billion in reserve financials, the safety net. $100 billion. Had to go to that. That's one bank that fell. There's more than 100 of the 124 U.S. banks in the market with a market value of $5 billion or less that were in the red month today. Small banks. I'm talking KBW. I'm talking little tiny township banks, not credit unions. Massive slips, even in the smallest banks. Because, of course, they approved their interest, everything happening. And 19% interest rate, no problem. Watching this is crazy, though. As Biden says, oh, everything's okay. We got everything under control. It's not under control. This slip in the banking assets so fast, it's faster than it happened in 2008. We've already lost more than 2008 in banking alliances alone, and that's an issue. Not to mention, now we have escalations that are happening. North Korea escalating tensions with the ballistic missile testing from submarines. This is crazy. So they can fire nuclear ballistic missiles from submarines now, for sure, not a question. As the launch comes, after they fired 2 strategic missiles in apparent protest. Watching more missiles get fired day after day. Short-range missiles to long-range cruise missiles, all coming from Punggye. All the banks are red tonight. Look at them. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. But we're preparing. Of course, we're watching because we know North Korea is preparing for additional launches, especially because South and South Korea and the U.S. are going to do strategic military exercises, knowing that it's going to make them mad. It's one thing after another. I mean, will wartime produce to repel potential North Korean attacks? I mean, it's not. I know this maneuvers that we're going to have isn't going to mean anything. That means it's in the negative. The banks are at a loss. Banks are in the red. They have less money than they actually have in deposit. It's happening. We got North Korea, South Korea, of course, pushing each other. Now we got the Philippines want to join in war games with the U.S. China's pissed off about that. We're going to keep pushing. We look at what's happening in Ukraine as fissures start to crack apart slowly, cracking apart the lines of perfectness that we supposedly have been hearing about, while the United States and Ukraine have been largely lockstep since Joe Biden's presidential pledge to support for Ukraine as long as it takes to resist Moscow's invasion. But more than a year into the war, there's differences behind the scenes between Washington and Kiev on war arms. Potential flashpoints loom on how and when the conflict will end. The administration doesn't have a clear objective, a clear goal. Is it just drag this thing out as long as they can? Which is precisely what Vladimir Putin wants. I mean, obviously, he can keep his employees working and building tanks and just letting them get destroyed. Their tanks cost pennies of the dollar almost. Literally. Just to give enough to survive and not to win. That's what we're giving them. We'll keep dumping money into Ukraine, but not enough to actually make a difference. Just enough to barely keep them alive. Of course, there's the public separation between Biden and Ukraine's president, especially over the tensions of the sabotage of the gas pipeline on the floor of the Atlantic Ocean. I mean, it drained defensive and strategic importance to Ukraine cities, and planning to fight the region where Russia's forces have entrenched for nearly a decade is ridiculous. Trying to talk about Crimea, knowing it caused nuclear war, but yet they're still pushing it. I mean, we've seen Russia moving thoroughly and forcefully. Both sides have suffered heavy losses, but Ukraine is reduced to rubble. Literally, cities like Bakhmut are cities of smothering ruins at this point. As we sit here, each day of the city's defense allows to gain time to prepare reserves and prepare for future offenses for Ukrainian forces. At the same time, the battle for this fortress of a city has been lost to the enemy. And the enemy prepared, as Russia's preparing, and combat capable. It's not looking good. Of course, Ukraine doesn't even know what it's doing with itself now. The heavy losses they've lost in Bakhmut so far. Moscow, of course, has been trying to take this city for months, grounding war to attrition there. Russian forces may have suffered about 11,000 deaths there, many more injuries. We're talking over 22,000 people, Ukrainian members, could have been killed there so far. I mean, it's crazy what is happening. And we know Bakhmut's going to fall completely to Russia. That's not a question. We're going to keep funding a war until we get into war, because that's the only way we can suffer or survive our debt crisis without the government actually going bankrupt. Sad as that sounds. watching these enemy lines, of course, not moving much, but slowly and surely, Russia is pushing forward. Of course, Russia's moving more troops in. Won't be a surprise soon. Are we prepared if Russia decides to go nuclear? I mean, it's hard to decipher the way Moscow will handle its ultimate weapons. Ever since Russia invaded Ukraine last February, there has been a near constant debate about Russia's president and his nuclear arsenal and what it might mean or what he might do with it. The United States has repeatedly warned that the flustered Russia might actually be willing to use nuclear weapons. We know the Kremlin, of course, has raised the specter of a nuclear strike. Top U.S. officials and senior Russian military leaders have discussed when and what under circumstances they might employ nuclear weapons, like us directly impacting the war in Ukraine. Which, of course, it's not going to be fun because we're already seeing that. The concerns have prompted state closer to Russia, notably China, to warn Moscow against going nuclear for right now. But we know Xi Jinping is planning to meet with Putin as Russia's visit next week is coming up to China. And what this visit says and what happens, we'll know. It's going to make big headlines because it's something serious because they talk on the phone all the time. Constant communication. China has been trying to offer a brokered peace in Ukraine. But Ukraine, of course, doesn't want it. They don't want to surrender any territory to Russia. So what could be happening at this meeting is beyond me at this point, but I'm sure we're going to need all the details as soon as it comes out, especially knowing that China wants to soon surround Taiwan and embargo it. So they, of course, want the war in Ukraine either with the U.S. involved or over, so Russia can help them there. But watching what's happening, this synchronization of these two huge countries, two huge governments. There's no details about what the meeting is about so far. We know that there is a meeting planned, and we will be getting on top of it as soon as it happens. But China and Russia struck a no-limits partnership back in February 2022. When Putin was visiting Beijing for the opening Winter Olympics, weeks before Russia invaded Ukraine, the two sides continued to reaffirm their strength and their ties. So we know Xi Jinping knew what Russia was going to do. Everybody did. Yes. It's sad that watching this happen is absolutely terrifying. If anybody wants to call in and talk about what they think is going to happen next with the banks, you're more than welcome to. The number here is 954-418-2435. Call and talk live on air, but please just mind your manners because we are live on air. But I want to know you guys' opinion. What do you think is next? I mean, watching JP Morgan, PNC, suitors for the possible SVB Holdings company. I don't even know if PNC will be able to make it through it all, knowing that they're going to be buying failing banks. It's crazy though. McConnell was discharged from the hospital, of course, after receiving treatment for concussion. He's been sent to recovery. I don't think anybody cares about that. Yeah, I got lots of silver and gold. Digital currencies are great, but you got to cash them out. That's the problem. In order to spend them, you have to cash them out. So then you would have to get cash or And digital currencies won't matter. I mean, I trade in a lot of digital currencies. Great to make money with, but it's not a great situation when you're limited funds, when you have to trade for stuff you want. Watching what's happening, it's coming to that point. Everybody should have a little bit of extra in the bank, or extra in your safe at home in the bank. Yeah, a FICO score, even if you have a plus credit score, a FICO plus score, which is 850, is the highest it can go, you're still looking at paying 4.5%. That's with a plus score, which usually would be an advantage score where you actually get lower interest rates than the federal government. Not happening. Watching us now, we're going to sell nuclear submarines to freaking Australia. That's going to be terrible. Oh. Yeah, because at first, even when the banks start rapidly collapsing, you'll still be able to spend cash at the store. You got to remember that. That's the first and foremost thing. You're still going to be able to go to the store and buy goods. And you're going to want to buy the goods that are going to last a long time quickly. And nuclear powered submarines, we're going to sell them to Australia. Oh, they're going to raise rates. Yep. They already planned to raise rates. It's going to be a 0.5% point, guaranteed. And it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. So we'll be waiting for that and everything that's happening. Stay strong. Remember, build that community. Your community in your neighborhood, your friends, your family. You want to get a tight-knit community together for when something or if something does happen. Even if it's a natural disaster or if these banks keep going the way they're going and things happen here in the U.S. that are not good, nuclear war or anything else, you want to be prepared. And having that network or that group of people is the best preparation you can have. Literally. Having people you can rely on. Literally, you look back at the Great Depression. The reason families survived is because families worked as units together. Neighborhoods worked together. They went and plowed each other's crops and shared food with each other. That's the only reason people survived. So be prepared to do what you got to do, but also be prepared to help people out when they need. Not going to start talking about the flooding and the whole issues that are happening on the other side of the country in California, but that is terrible as well. But that's just par for the course. You know, they say global warming and the climate change and everything else, but when you look back, Africa, the Sahara Desert was once a rich, luscious rainforest. And it went to a desert long before humans were here. The climate is constantly changing. Constantly. Lots of little banks, but we're not counting the little banks. Big banks were up to 4 now. Seriously. So we're only counting banks with at least $50 billion in assets. That's all I'm going to count. But God bless you guys. God bless America. Stay safe. And of course, if you can afford to donate, if you can't afford to, do not. If you can afford to donate, please donate for families in need for this Easter. God bless you all. God bless America. Stay safe out there. Stay strong. And make sure you get that unit going together, that group. It's going to become the most important thing if something happens. So I'll see you guys, of course, Wednesday night at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Till then, oh, I got to go. But stay safe. God bless you. And I will see you guys Wednesday night. Of course, I will keep you guys updated by post. So, not following, please make sure you follow the page. God bless.